daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right level to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Liverpool podcast brought to you by the Global Sports Podcast Network. It's Thursday, the 16th of October. We are officially out of the international break period, and we're now looking ahead to the weekend's game against Manchester United, a massive game for the Reds to really get the season back on track. And we've got a few episodes lined up. A couple of episodes with the Daily Manchester United podcast team here at GSPN. And we've got another preview episode with myself and our resident football coach from the United States, Herbie White. So look out for those episodes. A bit of news, club news coming out. Liverpool have presented 14 former players with retrospective league championship winners' medals for, as they say on the Liverpool FC website, for their contributions to the club's total of 20 top-flight titles. And I think that's a really good thing. You know, there was a time back in those kind of seasons gone by, years gone by, where players would make significant contributions to the club's season, but the rules were a little bit more stringent. You know, the criteria was that much more tougher to get a winner's medal. Whereas here in the modern age, we've got such big squads, and you see players who, you know, barely kick a ball all season. And at the end of the season, they've got a Champions League winner's medal. And they parade these medals around, you know, when they become pundits after they retire, which is fair enough. That's, you know, they were part of a squad. But it doesn't sit right that there are former players who I think contributed much, much more, and they don't get their kind of rewards. And so it's nice to see the club looking back and thinking, you know, these players really did contribute and they deserve a medal. So the players that have got these medals, David Fairclough for the 1982-83 season, where he made 8 appearances. And David Fairclough was known as the original super sub. That's where the term comes from, the super sub. And he famously scored for Liverpool against St. Etienne in the European Cup in the 1970s. You know, really, really famous goal that kind of almost cemented that kind of reputation that Anfield got for these famous European nights. So it's good to see David Fairclough being honoured in that way. David Hodgson has got a medal for, again, the 1983-84 season for 5 appearances. Alan Kennedy for the 1985-86 season. And I think this is when Kennedy is probably not the kind of automatic first choice left back that he had been for quite a few seasons under Bob Paisley. And, you know, another great servant of the club. I mean, he scored the winner in the 1981 European Cup final against Real Madrid in Paris. We won that game 1-0, the only goal, and it was scored by our left back. Alan Kennedy. 3 seasons later, penalty shootout, European Champions League final, Liverpool versus Roma at the Stadio Olimpico in Italy, and up steps Alan Kennedy to again score the decisive goal that wins the European Cup for Liverpool. And so I think it's really, really fitting that someone who's had such a significant impact on Liverpool's history, and particularly their kind of European history, which really sets the club apart from other clubs in England, that we are the most successful club in English football history, and in particular in Europe. So he had 8 appearances in that 1985-86 season. So he's got a medal as well. Chris Lawler, for his 6 appearances way back in the 1963-64 season, his son collected on his behalf. Jan Molby got 7 appearances in the 1987-88 season. Jan Molby, fantastic player, great midfielder, couldn't run more than 10 yards, but my word, what a player! Such vision, great passer of the ball, and it was a real feature of that 1980s Liverpool side. And so for the 1987-88 season, he's been given a medal. Another player which I think really holds a special place in the hearts of Liverpool fans, up and down the country and around the world, Terry McDermott, absolute bona fide Liverpool legend. And he made 9 appearances for the 1975-76 season, which he's been given a medal for. But he played such an instrumental part in Liverpool's success in the late 1970s and the early 80s, where he played so well under those Bob Paisley teams. And it's quite poignant. I mean, Terry McDermott was diagnosed with dementia back in 2021. He was said to be in the early stages of that condition, and unfortunately, he's one of many players, particularly in English football. I'm not really aware of the situation for players in other countries, but there are just too many footballers who have got these head injuries and dementia, and you've got to wonder the kind of weight of the footballs that they used to play with back in those times was so heavy, and the constant heading, you just wonder what kind of damage was done. But Terry McDermott, fantastic player, one of the original kind of box-to-box midfielders, could do everything. He was up and down that pitch for every minute of the game, defending, attacking, scoring goals, setting up goals. Scored, I think, in the European Cup final, I think in 1977. And if you get a chance to YouTube a goal that Terry McDermott scored, it's, I can't remember what season it was. It might have been 1981 or 82, but he scored an absolutely terrific goal against Tottenham Hotspur in the 6th round of the FA Cup, an absolute screamer of a goal. So yeah, just YouTube Terry McDermott, FA Cup goal against Tottenham Hotspur. I'm sure it will come up. Fantastic goal, fantastic player, fantastic servant of the club. And, really, really pleased that he's got this medal and has been honoured in this way. Ronnie Rosenthal gets a medal for the 1989-1990 season, where he made 8 appearances. I have to confess, whenever I heard the word or the name Ronnie Rosenthal, I just think about the terrible miss. It's one of the worst misses that you'll see. An open goal miss. I think he hit the crossbar. Might have been against Aston Villa. But that's something else to YouTube as well. But he's got a medal as well. Paul Walsh, the diminutive Paul Walsh, 1987-1988 season, 8 appearances. Number 7, he was signed by Kenny Dalglish from Luton Town, I'm pretty sure it was. Really good player, really good striker, quick, good agility and a good finisher. But just thinking that Liverpool side of the 80s, it was really, really difficult to get any kind of run of games, and to push the likes of Ian Rush out or John Aldridge, John Barnes. It was just so many great attacking players. Peter Beardsley. So I don't think he played as many times as he would have liked, and possibly that he deserved. John Walk, Scottish international, well known by Ipswich fans because he had a really successful stint at Ipswich under Bobby Robson, and he was signed by Liverpool off the back of his performances at Ipswich, who are a really good team in the late 1970s and early 80s. I think they won the UEFA Cup as well. Fantastic team they had. And yeah, I do suspect that John Walk was probably signed by Liverpool because of the quality of his moustache. His moustache was a high quality 1980s moustache, but he was in competition with the likes of Graham Souness and Terry McDermott and Ian Rush and Bruce Grobbelaar, and they all had absolutely phenomenal moustaches, and Alan Kennedy as well. The list goes on. So he probably didn't get as many appearances as he deserved as well, but a really good goal-scoring midfielder, and he's been awarded 2 medals for 9 appearances in the 83-84 season and the 85-86 season. Steve Highway, another one, legendary figure at the club. His name is still sung at every game at Anfield. He made 9 appearances in the 1979-1980 season, which gets him a medal, but he was a great player in the 1970s. This kind of long-legged, rangy kind of winger, and put in so many crosses for the likes of John Toshak and Kevin Keegan. And I think he was head of the academy for a while as well. So good to see him being honoured as well. Colin Irwin gets a medal for the 1979-1980 season, 8 appearances. Alec Lindsay, 6 appearances for the 1975-76 season. Sammy Lee, a really big figure at Liverpool Football Club during the 1980s, and he got a medal for this 1979-80 season for 7 appearances. He went on to become a regular after that and won plenty of league titles. But a really good player, and he was well known for being an assistant to Big Sam Allardyce at Bolton, and went on to become a manager in his own right as well. A posthumous medal was also presented to the family of Joey Jones for his 13 appearances in the 1975-76 season. Joey Jones, Welsh international, left back, he passed away earlier this year as well. So good to see these players being honoured, and deservedly so. Kenny Dalglish presented the medals, and he was quoted as saying, "We're thrilled to have been able to celebrate this occasion at Anfield. It was an emotional night for many, and it's a real honour to have been able to source and present League Championship winners' medals to our forever Reds. Their role in winning one, or in one case 2, of our 20 league titles deserves a medal, not only to mark their achievement, but also for playing such a significant part in our club's decorated history, for which we are immensely grateful." And I think that's the really important point here. It's not just that the likes of Steve Highway made 9 appearances in that 1979-80 season, but his contribution during that 1970s period is just remarkable. And that's, like I said, that's why his name is still sung in songs on the Kop, every match. The likes of Terry McDermott, he's not just being given this medal for the 9 appearances in the 1975-76 season. It's for all those goals that he scored in those league title wins, European Cup finals, FA Cup wins. And the same for Alan Kennedy and David Fairclough, and all those players. They played such a huge role in making Liverpool Football Club the club that it is today. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic that they've been honoured in that way. And, I think that should be a thing. I think the players in other clubs who have played for football clubs and have made, significant contributions from eras gone by. I think they should be honoured and respected, and given the kind of the medals that players pick up much, much easier in this modern age. Just another thing, just to wrap up on, for Black History Month, Curtis Jones was speaking to Liverpool's first black player, which was Howard Gale. And the video is on the Liverpool FC website, and I'd really recommend giving that a watch, because it's just Howard Gale comes across just so well. He was a fantastic player, and he had to deal with just a huge amount of racism back in the 1970s and the early 1980s, before things changed for the better. And some of the things that he had to experience, it's just mind-boggling. And to hear him speaking to Curtis Jones, and to almost and Curtis Jones being really kind of thankful and so respectful to Howard Gale, and making him know that, look, players like you paved the way for the likes of Curtis Jones, for the likes of John Barnes before then, and Paul Ince, and all these kind of players that played for Liverpool. But it was Howard Gale that had to really, really go through just such a tough time that he should never have had to go through. But unfortunately, society and the game was what it was back then, and thankfully, we just don't have that kind of situation. Certainly not in the football stadium, and so it's good to see. So I'd really recommend having a look at that video and seeing that interview with Howard Gale. And it's a real insight into just some of the challenges that these players went through in an era that was just, it's just difficult to kind of grasp and to comprehend in today's age. But that is all for today. As I said, we've got a few other episodes that are lined up to preview the weekend's huge game against Manchester United. And, we'll be back on Monday to review the weekend's action. And hopefully, we'll be talking about a Liverpool win. We'll see you soon.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.